play, and don't you know, it's a beautiful new day. Hey, it's the blue sky, please cut a smile and perhaps a high reckless sorrow. Where do we go? Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky.
Hello and welcome to Animated Anarchy. I am Andrew Dickman, and we are here to talk about the wonders and awesomeness, or whatever have you, about chaotic cartoons. I am here with my friend Michael Ruaco.
That's me.
Yes, and this is the first podcast in what I will hope will be a series. I always say that. I hope this will be a series of some sort.
By saying, I hope,
Yeah.
you have jinxed it.
Yes, I have. I have completely jinxed it. So, anyway, that's it. That's it. That's the end.
That's
All
the
right.
end.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Bye. No. Okay. No, this is a something that I just wanted to do because I liked talking about these weird cartoons that I've been finding and just want to talk about. But today we're going to talk about something that is kind of familiar by a lot of people.
By proxy.
Yeah, but just
Well, you would
by
say-
default, you have to. It's not something you can really avoid because it was a Dreamworks movie.
Yeah.
And
And we will say that it is unbelievable.
are we already going to start with that now?
Oh,
Are we going to start with the puns already?
well, that movie, I mean,
I mean, like we literally cannot say the letter B without it somehow connecting to this damn movie.
it's all
If
all
you-
coming back to me. I mean, it really is. Like,
Okay, if you can't tell by now, we're going to be talking about Jerry Seinfeld's Bee Movie. The B-E-E, the animal, not the letter B, though it is kind of a B movie. I would say it's a Z-grade movie, but
the thing
it's
about, the thing
no,
about just like epic or epic movie,
right.
when you set it up with a grade, once you when you set it up with it's B movie, get it? Because it's like a B movie,
Right.
And it doesn't even live up to a C movie. It's like really just false advertising
Yeah.
right out of the gate.
Well,
I mean, if you see the poster and it's literally just it's B movie, and then it's just a screaming B
yeah.
with Jerry Seinfeld's name above it.
Now, it's funny that you bring that up because, like, I see that when I was looking up this movie, I saw that a lot in the images of the tennis ball scene. Like, we're already
which is a very short scene.
Yeah, it's a very short scene, but it's like, I remember when this came out. Okay, first off, tell me what your personal history with this movie
All
is.
I was probably one of the few people who actually saw it in theaters.
No, I saw it in theaters too, but you first.
I mean, according to people who have why did B movie? I had a friend of mine a few years before. I took a class for young kids. I was teaching a Saturday class for kids at a local college,
Right.
and I used to be the assistant of a teacher, and his old assistant was an animator who I'm not going to share their name.
No, yeah,
For
we're honestly not going to share names because these are honestly hardworking people.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah,
They're doing
they
as
do a
good-
wonderful job, and I'm not going to criticize anyone for doing their job.
And he's a great animator.
Yeah, certainly.
But yeah, he just happened to work on this movie.
Yeah, but yeah, so
So he left, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to California to work in animation." I said, and this is when I lived in New York, and he's like, "Great," and I'm like, "Great, we'll congratulations, and we'll see your name on the screen someday."
Yeah.
So a few years later, I get in touch with him again, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going? Remember me? Oh yeah. How's it been?" And I said, "What are you doing now?" He's like, "Well, we just finished Bee Movie, which is coming out this week, and we're moving on to Kung Fu Panda." At the time, Kung Fu Panda was just one of those. You hear the title and you're just like, ugh.
yeah.
Oh, the Kung Fu Panda, really? And the images of a kicking panda,
And the fact that they announced that Jack Black was
and it was just
the
sort of
main
like,
character.
because it was we already had a whole bunch of these movies,
Right.
And we didn't know that it was going to be as good of a movie as it was. But I digress.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, it's coming out. I should go see B Movie and support him and his team and his crew and the crew that he's with. So it's like a Tuesday evening, and I'm living in New York City, and it was like right after class. I went back to my dorm, dropped stuff off, and I'm like, okay, let me go to the movie. So I walked down to Union Square to the movie theater where they're playing B Movie. This is on a Tuesday night at like 7, 8, like literally the Tuesday or the day or a couple days after it came out.
Right.
Tuesday evening. I go in the theater. This is the only time I've ever gone to a movie, and the theater was pretty much empty.
Yeah.
Like, it was nobody.
Yeah.
I've gone to theaters in small towns at 11 o'clock, and there's at least 3 or 4 people there. I was in the middle of New York City at one of the bigger theaters in the South End of New York City, and the theater was empty.
Yeah. It's a weird experience, honestly, being in the. I mean, at the same time, it's a great experience, but it feels weird.
But the sad thing was, I was alone. It's
Right.
not like I can riff with someone.
Oh yeah. It's like you're just riffing to yourself.
So
like...
I go and I watch the movie, and I'm going through a conflict of faith, because it's like, I want to support him, my friend, but it's like, God, this is sucks. It's terrible. So I watch this movie, and I'm just dumbfounded at what I see.
Yeah.
From every level. Story. I mean, the animation looked good, the design looked great, just the pacing and the story. That I was just completely thrown off. So I went back home and I sent him an email, and I said, "Hey," I kind of had to lie. I mean, you did good work. You did good work on the movie, but it's B movie. So I write him an email saying, "Hey, I just wanted to say I saw B movie, and you guys did a great job, and I hope everything works out, and you're on whatever you're working on now."
Of course.
45 minutes later, I get a reply, it was playful. It was like, seriously, but the tone in the email was like, "Why the fuck did you go see B movie? Why did you go see this movie?" And I'm like, I wanted to support you guys. And I replied, "I wanted to support you guys and your efforts and whatever." And he replies back, "Nobody wants to be known for working on this movie."
Oh my God.
The fact that you
man.
paid money, good $2,000, $7 or $8 to go see this movie, and waste your money. You're in college and you're wasting money that you should be spending on food to go see Jerry Seinfeld as a fucking bee for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
What is the matter with you? And it was really a playful conversation, but that was just someone who worked on the movie told me, "Why the hell did you go see our movie?"
And that should
talk about like not having faith. I mean, I've heard stories from other people who have either worked on the movie or worked on a movie while that movie was being worked on, like, 'cause they usually do 1 or 2 movies in development at a time, at least at that point.
Right.
So it's just the fact that they were like, "Oh, I mean, I heard horror stories about the guys on B movie," or "Oh my God, Jerry Seinfeld came in," and
it happens. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah. It's especially with the people that are connected to it and everything, because sometimes when there's like an outside source like Jerry Seinfeld or something, and they just say like, "Oh hey, I want to do a cartoon. Hey, that sounds really fun."
It's the new generation's Rover Dangerfield.
Yeah.
It's literally
okay.
a guy comes running in,
Yeah.
a comedian, an actor, a personality, whatever, comes running into the office of a director and says, "Have I got an idea for you?
Yeah.
What about me as a bee?"
Well, interestingly enough, this movie was made because Jerry Seinfeld had a lunch with Steven Spielberg, and he made it as a joke. It's like, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if there was a movie that was called Bee Movie, but it was actually about bees?" And all of a sudden, Spielberg said, like, "Hey, that's really great. We should do that. We should do that movie."
Out of sheer politeness.
I'm sure, but
sure, Jerry.
Well,
that sounds like a great idea. Let me give you Jeffrey's number.
Well, I'm sure like the wheels were turning when these two were together, and they're so like, you know what, maybe that could work. I mean, it's an interesting subject. You want to make a movie about bees? Hey, they made movies about bugs before. Why not just about a bee? And hey, Jerry Seinfeld's connected to it. He made a hit movie, hit TV show, I should say. And why don't we get like his writers in on this, and we'll just come up with whatever the hell they come up with.
Let's see how many things we can align with bees.
Yeah. And that must be really difficult, especially because a lot of these movies are storyboard driven. And when you bring, I don't really know what the process is for feature animation. Like, I'm sure there's like a screenplay, of course.
Well, yeah, they got to break it down.
They break it down. But it's, I know, sometimes in animation, it's like writers and storyboard artists, there's like a conflicting thing. It's like it either has to be script driven or storyboard driven. So maybe somehow that kind of meshing would kind of like create conflicts, especially for people who probably haven't even worked. I looked these people up. on IMDb. They have written nothing after Seinfeld and Bee Movie. I don't know what they're doing now.
You know why? Because they probably made so much money in residuals.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Seinfeld
probably,
alone.
most likely, and they're just like living large right now.
Yeah.
But so it's like, we'll just do this movie because Seinfeld said let's do it, and then I'm off to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I'm off to my mansion. And
Yeah.
my 3 cars and my boat.
But yeah, it's really funny to think about that. Is that there might have been some sort of weird conflict.
And you look
there.
at the credits and you see how many writers are on the movie.
Yeah.
And it's example of I don't even want to say it's in because I mean first of all, on
there's like a main there was 4 names that I saw on
Yeah.
there that and when I was looking up IMDb there was like 2 probably like punch up writers afterwards.
Yeah. Well, then there's also a lot. I mean, I know that they have a lot of people coming up, like comedians and stuff, that come in and do punch up on these.
Oh yeah.
At least then.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do it now.
Yeah, but well, who can say honestly? But it just feels like there might have been some sort of conflict because these writers might have not known how to write for animation, so when they're going into it, they're just saying like, "Oh, hey, it's going to be like a Seinfeld's TV show. Let's just write it up and we'll make money." But I can only assume. So, but yeah, I'm going to go down the list of the actors that were in this movie. So, of course, Jerry Seinfeld, who is Barry
B. Benson.
All B's.
Get
He's a triple
Oh.
Beer. Renee Zellweger, who has actually been in a few Dreamworks movies.
She was the female lead in Shark Tale.
Yeah. And what's really funny about that is I feel like there's a connection between Shark Tale and Bee Movie, but I'm not going to go into it.
You think that they're like the same crews or the same?
Might have been. I mean,
Turbo felt like a lot like Bee Movie or Shark Tale.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, you have, but
I have.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Renee Zellweger also showed up in Monsters vs. Aliens. She wasn't a big role, but she was definitely in there. So she's been in quite a few movies, and I gotta say, like, between Jerry Seinfeld and Renee Zellweger, I feel like they don't know how to act, like either of them.
Well, oh.
I don't know, because Renee Zellweger, it's like I feel like she's trying to act on Seinfeld's level, because when they converse, it seems like they're on the same plane.
Yeah.
You know, when they're bantering back and forth about stuff, I feel like it was an actor's choice to kind of like act in this sort of.
There's scenes where she's delivering dialogue and it sounds like she's like the character itself is very self-aware.
Right. Yeah.
As if it's like a Looney Tune where she's almost like talking and enunciating for the cheap seats in the back of the theater. You know?
Enunciating.
You know what I mean?
Just to like slow it down for the people in the audience. It's like, this is what's happening right now.
Would you like some cake? You know, like there's scenes in the movie where
Some
she just
coffee?
some coffee? A talking bee, you know, like it does sound. And the thing that bugged me about Jerry Seinfeld's delivery is that he hits the like weird cadences when he talks.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when he yells or even
Oh my
gets
God.
slightly emotional, it's like a prepubescent boy, like a boy going through puberty, and be like,
it
like,
reminds me.
I'm panicking. Like his voice.
It honestly reminds me, because like when I was really young and I wanted to record my voice and everything, I didn't want to yell because I thought it was too loud. So I would do like that faux.
It's
like I'm yelling.
Also, when you see him like getting flung by tennis balls or shot through a car, you just hear, "Oh, hey!"
It's like,
"Ee!"
and he does that weird like,
It's like a preview. It's like that. Ah!
Yeah.
It's like this one. What is the one near the end? He goes, "I'm not scared. I'm panicking.
Oh God,
It
yeah.
makes me psychotic." It sounds like his voice is breaking.
I'm
want-
yelling.
Do you want fries with that?
Yeah,
I don't know. Ugh.
well, the difference between Seinfeld and Renee Zellweger is that Zellweger actually sounds like she's kind of trying,
Yeah.
and while Seinfeld's just kind of like he's in a booth and he doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
But he was like that on his TV show too. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he's a stand-up comedian. He's not really gonna act that much. He just kind of did this because someone told him to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
There was,
So
there was
his acting, I feel like the writers on that TV show were just like, okay, we know he can't act, so let's put him in situations where he's not the one doing a whole lot of strenuous, overdone yelling or something like that. But in this movie, he's yelling quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of action scenes in that, and it just sounds like it sounds like he's in a box.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want anyone to hear him yell. It just
he's still afraid that even though he's in his when he recorded that he was in his 50s.
This was how long after the show? How?
At least 10 years after.
Really?
Probably. Well, he ended it when did he end it? Like 90.
Was it that?
Well, the movie came out in 2008, so they probably started recording.
No, it was actually out in 2007. So...
Oh, this was out in 2007.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Seinfeld, I don't know. I don't know much about Seinfeld in terms of like when it aired.
Well, I
late 90s.
It was probably quite a while after the TV show was gone because I'm sure he was like just conversing.
It was on the cusp of his like non-relevancy in like entertainment news because he rode the high of the Seinfeld, and then he was still popular after Seinfeld ended because it kept running, and then it gets when he started to wane, and people were starting to be like, "Oh yeah, Jerry Seinfeld, he did that show years ago. What's he up to now?" Then they do Bee Movie.
Yeah.
But I was about to say, the other actors in the movie, which is funny, out of the like you mentioned, Renee Zellweger and Jerry Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. Then in the trifecta of just sort of like, I'm acting. Is Matthew Broderick, who plays
and
his friend, what? And he actually, out of the three, he's the most genuine sounding.
He is honestly my favorite character in this movie because he sounds genuine, and he just seems like the kind of friend that you like to hang around with. It's like, oh, we're buddies, but he's the one that's a little bit more level-headed, and he wasn't like annoying. It was like Seinfeld was the annoying one, and Broderick was kind of like more toned down and down to earth and everything.
I wish Broderick's character was the main character. In that movie.
It's funny. I really, if they switched places in the movie, I would probably enjoy Bee Movie a lot more with. And what was his buddy's name? I can't remember.
I guess that
Henry
goes to show how important and how memorable of a character he was.
Yeah.
You just watched the movie today.
Yeah, I know. And it's like the only thing I remember is Barry. I mean,
Barry
because
Benson.
Because
I don't remember the name of the
I only remember B words.
You only remember the word, the concept
like
that you hear the most in this movie.
It's like if I were to do a sentence, I would just say B words, and those are the only ones that resonate to me.
And then let's see, let's flesh out the entire.
Okay, so all right,
after Broderick.
Okay, so I can't remember the names, but he had like his parents, and they're kind of
parents, and
they're kind of forgettable, honestly.
Yeah,
even
they're like every other.
Chris Rock shows up. He's a mosquito,
and it's.
And
borderline racist, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I guess because it's a mosquito.
And I like Chris Rock's character too.
Yeah,
he has some pretty funny lines in it.
Yeah, he does.
He's like,
but it's at the cadence that Chris Rock almost. Yeah. He's like, I don't know. This is gonna sound weird, but the Black Gilbert Gottfried in the sense that he has that specific delivery when he delivers a line.
Yeah.
Like even like he had a more nuanced performance, of course, because it was a bigger character in Madagascar, which was a few years before.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had quiet moments, and there were very heartfelt moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this one, it's
he's
like
played for laughs.
He is.
Yeah.
There is even that moment where he's with him just in the truck.
Yeah.
And they're just talking like back and forth, and that one's a little bit more subdued.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty loud.
It still hit the typical Chris Rock cadence of how he talks.
So you certainly can tell it's Chris Rock.
And then you have Patrick Warburton playing pretty much every other character.
Okay, here's the thing. Patrick Warburton and John Goodman. John Goodman. Yeah, Patrick and John were in this movie, and Patrick's performance is really weird because everyone was using him at the time.
Right.
He was like a real big. He was everywhere in Disney.
Yeah.
No, but in Disney.
Well, yeah,
you know,
Kronk and
especially, yeah, he was Kronk. He was in that
Soren, the
Soarin'
ride.
over California. He was there. He was in a lot of the TV shows that
He
they
was
were
the voice
doing.
of Buzz Lightyear for the TV show.
That's right. And John Goodman at the time wasn't Jungle Book 2 out as well?
Yeah, and well, Jungle Book 2 was early to mid 2000s.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know how
03,
early,
04.
but around the time John Goodman was also used a lot at Disney
Monsters
stuff.
Inc.
Yeah, and I almost feel like I want to say like that was a stab to Disney to have them on this movie because they're villains.
They are, but I don't know. I just feel like there's the jealous. I mean, Patrick Warburton has one of my. Between Patrick Warburton and John Goodman, they have the best deliveries of specific.
They
lines.
do, yeah.
There's,
But I can't stand looking at the characters.
oh yeah.
These designs are the most ugly designs for human beings I have ever seen in a movie.
Weird. And this, I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but if you look at specific, you could tell that there's specific crews and different stylings for each DreamWorks movie consistently. Yeah. So you see like a movie like How to Train Your Dragon and how the humans are handled almost very realistically, and then to the point where they could be ultra realistic, like in Rise of the Guardians. Then you look at the movies that were made like every other movie, like you look at how rubbery the humans were in Shrek, and they were kind of rubbery and kind of weird in Monsters vs. Aliens, and they were the same in to Madagascar in a sense. And they're there's almost different
over the hedge.
The humans were animated and kind of done a very specific way, which is almost
I feel
alien.
I feel like they kept the human designs for a lot of their movies, and they just didn't want to like make,
they're not caricatured enough.
No, yeah. And here's the funny thing. Okay, here's my personal history with the movie. I remember I was I think it was like at the end of college, and they were working on Over the Hedge, and I can't remember what else was before that, but we were going around the studio and we were looking on the walls and here are the character designs and boards for Bee Movie, and I was looking through and I was like, oh wow, these are really cool cartoony looking characters. I really like this as opposed to what I'm used to, which was Shrek and Shark Tale, which is like Will Smith fish is really, I mean, it was just a characterized fish, and it was like it's very creepy. It's all borderline. What is it?
Uncanny Valley.
Uncanny Valley. Yeah, it's borderline that, and it's like it's not
caricatured.
Yeah,
enough.
it doesn't really work that well in an animation, especially when you have like very cartoony looking animals and stuff like that, and then you have these realistic looking.
Like what bugged
faux
me, like in Bee Movie, they have like you see extreme because of course whenever you have to have a personal moment with these tiny little bugs and like bees and whatever, and then the head of that character has to be right in screen, and there's like it's weird because they're semi caricatured, yet they have realistic like tear ducts, and they get that weird. There was a time in CG where they.
Yeah, each and every eyelash you could see, but it's like it's not really.
It's almost like fake. It's fake eyelash.
Yeah.
And there's a weird thing that they would do if you look at any of those movies is that, and it bugged me, and then I realized why is that if you look at someone's eyelid, there's that fold on your eyelid right above your actual eyeball, what you see of the eyeball.
Right.
And usually that's in shade. But the way these movies are lit. Everything is lit like 100% from every angle.
Right.
So they have this bright line above your eye, and usually it's dark, and it's weird. Like they finally kind of fixed it. Like if you look at any of the newer Disney movies or the newer DreamWorks movies, they almost color that part of the eye differently, so it seems
it doesn't seem natural. It just seems like a sculpt, like a puppet, you know.
Right.
And I know as realistic as. I mean, I feel like CG was doing pretty well at that time already.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the early ones like Toy Story and Ants and even Shrek, I mean, they're as crude as they are.
The CG doesn't feel aged at a certain point.
Yeah. So I mean, Toy Story 2, they definitely improved all the human characters by then. So
I mean, you look at a movie like Monsters Inc., which at the time looked amazing. You go, or even Shrek to an extent. If you go, now that we live in the age of HD TVs and we're watching these movies on HD,
now we can see every pore.
You see every pore, everything, and it looks not, you know, because now we're used to more realistic physics, things kind of easing and stuff. But the CG is dated.
Yeah.
We've seen better CG, so it makes that CG not look nearly as good.
Well, the thing is like I also I use The Incredibles as an example because those characters are very chiseled and they have very smooth features. And the closer you get, I mean, you'll notice like little details and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're very stylized.
Right.
And I think that's what I'd like to see more than these very heavily sculptured, very detailed human characters.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I digress. Anyway, so we're walking through we're walking through DreamWorks and we're looking at all these designs that are on the wall. And I was looking at them and so I was like, wow, that looks really great. I'm looking forward to this movie. And then someone comes up to me and is like, oh, those aren't the final designs. And I was like, wait, what are the final designs? And they pointed over to me and we see these the models of the characters and this very, you know, Jerry Seinfeld-esque looking bee. And I was looking at that and then looking at the characterized drawings of them and I was like, why don't you go with that? And then I was quickly like shushed, like, you know, it's like, don't say that out loud, okay? So it's really Anyway, moving on. Here's How to Train Your Dragon. And I was just thinking to myself, like, oh my, that seems very weird that you would want to be hushed for a change in design. Like that must be like I'm sure they were struggling to keep that cartoony look to it.
They probably said it should look more like Jerry. It should look more like Jerry. You look at the original,
like the Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, you look at if you look at even like the art of, or if you go on Google, you could find them. Mm-hmm. Like Nico Marley did these.
Oh, I have the art book.
Yeah, the art book. The beautiful designs of this main character.
Yeah,
but when they translated it to CG, of course, it looks nothing like that.
Yeah.
Because you could tell that they were, you know, we got to make it look more like Jerry. And the thing about having like in The Incredibles, the characters are caricatured enough. Mm-hmm. The more realistic it looks, the less you can get away with.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, exaggerating or pushing things.
Right.
So the fact that the B movie humans are realistic enough that when they do something that seems off, it's like seeing an alien putting on a suit and trying to act like human.
Yeah. And
you could see little things that make it seem like, okay, they're very realistic. Like I see something that's very similar to what, you know, I mean, of course the nose is
this is funny that you bring that up because there's a character, oh my gosh, he was the hi cat. I'm trying to remember his name, but he was like the employer bee. He
was like the guy who was.
You recognize that voice, right? I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't like.
You mean he was
Larry Miller? Larry Miller, that's his name.
Yeah.
So and there was a scene where they're going to get their jobs and choose what's there.
There's a big wall where they're looking at all their. Is that it? Where they're looking at the big wall of jobs? And it's so close.
Yeah. And there's a scene where he talks about, it's like, hey, he's probably dead. They're all dead. Deadaroo. And
the animation in that scene.
The animation for that scene is horrible. It's like, it's very stiff. It feels like they weren't stretchy enough. It's like they wanted it to be very loose and elastic, but it didn't work. However, the best animation in this movie, in my opinion, is John Goodman's character when he's performing.
Oh yeah,
and which is also helped by John Goodman being a really good voice. In this movie,
he is self-aware, just like Renee Zellweger.
Yeah. And he's just hamming it up.
But he knows how to ham.
Oh no, he's hamming it up, and he's doing the best he can.
He does some of the best lines in the movie.
Yeah,
like, when he comes up, I think.
I really enjoy that character. He's really fun.
The delivery of when he goes, ladies and gentlemen of the giraffe. Like he comes up and he's like grabbing his suspenders like an old, like he should be drinking
Southern gentleman,
a mint julep. the Colonel Sanders-y.
They really overdoing the accent.
And even when he gets in the movie, there's a scene where he gets quote stung.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's going like, "Oh Lord!" He's got what they call melisma, where like if you listen to preachers and people who are singing soul,
Yeah.
they'll add a syllable at the end of a line. So they'll be like, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up to the Lord. That adding that little one. Then he does that so much.
That was some of the funnest animated acting I've ever seen. I mean, in this movie. I mean, it's like, it's really fun how well they portrayed that character, and they really went all out, and it was helped by John Goodman's performance.
And I mean, the animators who did it are, it was the most fun of the animation in the movie.
And I feel like the bees were a little bit more limited, in that sense, because when I say the Larry Miller bee, he's not as...
Well, probably because he's only in it for one scene.
Yeah, maybe. So he wasn't as rigged as much.
Yeah, or maybe because on these movies, I don't know how, because I don't think at that time they had a system where, all right, we got to have a crowd of people and bees. Mm-hmm. There's probably a way where we can just different body type, different size, different hair, different head shape, different body shape.
So, I'm not going to criticize them for that.
I mean, they're probably all rigged.
Yeah, they're all rigged differently, and obviously, probably back then, it's like there were particular scenes where they were rigged differently, because they had more extreme poses and actions that were appropriate to the scene. Yeah. So I would understand that. It just looked really weird to me, seeing that, and really the biggest acting that he would do is just turn completely upside down for a line.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. And here, okay, so, and there's a lot of celebrity voices in this, which include Ray Liotta, Sting,
get it,
who is in there because of a pun, which we'll discuss that. Larry King is in this. We should discuss him.
Which I think is probably one of the, we'll discuss it.
And Oprah Winfrey is in this movie.
She plays the judge. Well, it's weird because she did a lot of animated films where she plays these really bit parts.
Really?
She was in Princess and the Frog.
Was she?
She was Tiana's mom.
Oh wait, you're right. Yeah. I completely forgot about that.
She has one of the weirdest lines in that movie, where she just goes, "I want some grandkids," in the middle of a song, like Tiana singing a song, and then in the middle she's just like, "I want some grandkids."
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like I guess I don't watch Oprah Winfrey enough to recognize that's her. So when I saw that name, I was just like, that was Oprah Winfrey? But
you're surprised. You get surprised.
But basically, the rest of these guys, they're just playing themselves.
Yeah.
By the way, it's thunderstorming right now.
Yeah. Wow, these mics picked it up.
Yeah, really I guess. Nicely. Yeah.
Wow. It's almost like I can't hear it.
You have to understand, we live in California. It has not rained in a very long time. We're in a dry spell.
The ground is literally going, water!
Yeah.
Water!
And all of a sudden, we get this downpour today. So anyway, moving on to the real
important
thunder.
Topic here. The thunder in this room is
Rip Torn is in this movie. He's the general ant. The general bee. I'm thinking of ants for some reason.
Well, it's another DreamWorks movie.
Yeah, but no, Rip Torn's in this, and he's all right.
Rip Torn, I like Rip Torn.
I like Rip Torn too. I mean, there's some controversy with him lately, but but honestly, he did a good job in this movie. Going back to Larry King, though, let's talk about that scene.
It's one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
It is.
In an odd way.
And here's the thing. Before we get into the Larry King scene, it's like, I want to say, when I watched this movie, and when I watched it back then, I saw it in theaters too. I saw this on a lark, I was with my mom and my niece at the time, and my niece was visiting from Colorado, and we were just walking around at what is it, one of the malls,
the Galleria.
The Galleria over there. And we just said, hey, let's go watch a movie. And Bee Movie's out, so let's watch that. I mean, that's fun for the whole family. So we're in there, and it's not, it wasn't as packed as I thought it would be, but it wasn't empty. There was still people there, and we were watching it, and it's like, I remember having laughs. I was like, I genuinely laughed at some of the jokes. I do like the banter between Seinfeld and Renee Zellweger sometimes. You know, they had some funny things to say. You know,
including a very weird suicide pact joke.
Yeah, well, that one's like no, that one wasn't funny. But
for kids.
But there was for kids. But there were some really funny moments in it, and I had some laughs. But I when we were walking out, I asked my niece, who was 11 at the time, and I asked her, I was like, "What did you think of it?" And she says, like, "I don't know. I didn't really get a lot of the jokes." And that's what I thought. It really made me think. I was like, this movie doesn't really seem like it was. I mean, it looked like it was made for kids. Because they had like all these fun, really whimsical moments where it's like, you're in the beehive and they're in this working environment and it's really fun. And then they're flying through the park and it's really adventurous and fun. But then you have these moments where it's just like, it's Seinfeld.
Yeah.
It's Seinfeld.
No kid would know who Ray Liotta is.
Yeah, no. Or Sting.
Yeah.
Or Larry King. Like, what? Those were, I mean... We would understand that these are jokes for adults in a kid's movie, but it seems to outweigh the whole, general audience sort of thing.
Right.
So when we came out and I was asking my nieces, and she was like, I just didn't get it. I didn't get any of it.
Who's the old guy with the suspenders?
Yeah.
B. Larry King?
Right, yeah.
I have to admit, though, it's really funny that it's like, we have there's a Larry King in the human world, too, a very common name. No, but he looks exactly like you. Like, he's got the glasses, the suspenders, and all these weird colored dots behind. Like, that really,
Yeah.
I thought them talking about the colored dots.
Yeah.
For some reason, even at me watching this movie,
Yeah.
I'm like, Larry King does have those weird dots behind him. I rather look.
But by now, it's a dated reference. If anyone watched that movie now, they'd just be thinking,
Yeah.
like, what's going on?
This-
But yeah, it's funny because like a lot of cartoons at the time, they would have like these references to celebrities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And while we didn't get it, it was still pretty funny, And I feel like the Ray Liotta thing. I never watched. I haven't watched Godfather. Before that I watched it years afterwards, but I was like, who is this guy? I don't understand. He acted like Tom Cruise too. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he had the weirdest animation in that movie.
He did.
There's that close up where they're in the jury and you see Ray Liotta just there and he's moving very oddly.
And Sting as well. It was like and I don't know. It just looked very weird to me. And it was like they wanted to make a caricature, but they didn't really, or they couldn't.
They didn't push it far enough.
No, yeah. So it's like, well, they have to be recognizable. You have to know this is Ray Liotta. You have to know this is Sting.
You know what it feels like, those designs specifically? As if someone out of clay made a very realistic likeness, but then put some water and just sort of melted it a little bit on the edge so everything's softer.
Yes.
So it has that look, so it's not as clearly defined.
Yeah.
Like Ray Liotta isn't clearly defined, neither is Sting. They look kind of like them, you know. But speaking of jokes, so there's jokes for adults, and then there's we came up with the title is a pun,
right?
And then the rest of the movie has probably the most puns per minute of any DreamWorks movie.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that this movie is about bees.
Okay, yeah. The fact that it opens up with it's like, wow, there's certainly a lot of pomp considering the circumstances. And I was like, wow, that's what we're gonna start off with.
That and the one of the first jokes in the movie.
That's not even a funny joke pun. I mean, like
it's get it, pomp and circumstances.
I mean, they're pretty. And they're playing the song while he's saying that. But and there's some funny puns in this, but that's not saying much because there's a couple that will just like fall flat, and then there's some that are just like, oh, that's pretty fun observation.
When I sat at the theater when I first saw it, and I realized there was that point of the oh no, I just realized what I got myself into.
Yeah.
One of the first jokes in the movie is that he comes downstairs, and his father goes, "I just saw your report card, son. Great job. All B's." And then there's that moment of my heart sinking about 3 inches down.
Yeah.
Your stomach just closing a bit, like kind of wrenching closed.
Yeah.
And then the sudden like cold sweat realization of I just paid money and I'm gonna have is this what this movie's gonna be? And lo and behold, most of the movie is either just really weirdly random, like why are beekeepers really evil sounding?
Yeah, that's actually that was kind of funny.
And even people who like guy who works at a supermarket who packs the honey is evil to put on the shelf.
Right,
you know?
but here's the thing. This is what I want to ask you about. What do you think? What was the theme of this entire movie? I mean, what did this movie want to be? Because
it's such a weird movie because it's a movie that keeps changing plots every 20 minutes.
Right.
Like it starts with here's the life of bees for like 10 minutes. And you're like, okay,
starts off as a cartoon.
Yeah, a cartoon. Yeah. Then it's oh no, this is not what I want. I don't want to live in the hive and do one job forever. I want to see the world. And then it becomes this.
It becomes a romantic comedy.
But before that, it becomes a underdog on a journey of being outside his comfort zone.
It's an underdog story. Yeah.
Then it becomes a rom-com when he meets and then they fall in love, which is the weirdest. There was a Tumblr post going around of this, like the Patrick Warburton character comes home and he goes, "Oh, I'm they mentioned something like, "Oh, I'm helping." I'm helping Barry sue the human race.
Right.
And then there's a moment
it's a political drama.
Yeah, and then and then his face turns, and he makes this face like, what? And then it's like, that's the whole, like, that's my reaction to that entire movie. It's just that one image. And so, and then at one point he's like, wait a minute. They've been taking our honey. We've been working hard to make that honey. We gotta sue the human rights. And then it becomes a court drama. Mm-hmm. And then after the court drama, they win the case, and then it becomes an environmental movie. It becomes like a weird, like, inconvenient truth kind of movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it turns into, and then they play a really...
They even talk about global warming at the beginning of the movie. It's like Patrick Warburton's character comes in and is like, you know what, I predicted global warming.
It reminds me, I can't wait to hear what Patrick Warburton sounds like when he's like in his 70s and 80s. It's going to sound really...
Is it going to sound like Brad Garrett?
He's going to be like, kind of... wispy.
Yeah.
Real wispy, his voice. Very wispy.
I don't want to do this anymore. I've been cronk for so long.
Yeah. And he has the best delivery. One of my favorite deliveries in the movie is just him going, "Hello, B."
He has, as ugly as the character is, he has some pretty funny expressions.
Yeah, he fucking screaming, holding a freaking frozen yogurt.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do love, like, those expressions you were saying where it's just like, he has that squinty eyes and he's just like,
what?
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't really comprehend the situation. It's like, he's really the audience. Just like,
he really is. Like, really? And like,
I don't understand this.
I will say, like, for that relationship between Renee Zellweger and his character, that relationship wasn't going to go anywhere anyway.
No,
but you don't.
They really.
But you don't hate that character enough to be like, yes, Barry, go win her over.
Yeah.
End this relationship.
Well, yeah. By the time like they're together, you already know they made it together. It didn't really. It's really weird because Patrick Warburton's character just feels like he was a brother the whole time or something,
like
and
you're just waiting for him to say, "Dude."
Yeah.
Like, dude. Yeah. Like. Totally, I'll help you with your court case.
It didn't really seem like they were actually a couple at first, or he was trying to pursue her at all. It just seemed like he was in the house, and they play tennis once in a while. It was one of those things where I didn't really feel any connection between.
A marriage?
Yeah, did he? Did he ruin a marriage? Were they married?
They lived in a house together. Well, no, he didn't live in a house because she would come over and be like, "Well, tonight's our frozen yogurt night."
Yeah.
So they probably were just dating. It was her house.
Was he a gay friend? I don't know.
Yeah, why would a guy
for yogurt night?
Why things have to be so difficult? Yeah. Like, I have to admit, like, he's humorous in that sense because he's just like, he's a break away from the. Are we really watching a movie about a bee?
That's the real fun. That's a funny thing about this. The most enjoyable characters in this movie were the villains.
Yeah.
And even like when I watched it a while ago.
Did you say you buzz?
No. Did I buzz?
You said, did you buzz? You just said buzz.
No, I didn't say that.
You said buzz.
No, I didn't.
You did say buzz.
Okay, fine. I said buzz. Okay.
The bee movie's finally getting to you.
I buzzed. I mean, okay. So watching the movie earlier today, I was actually really laughing at how ridiculous the beekeeper scene was.
Because like...
in the fact that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to the setting of the entire movie, but
why they're evil.
It's really just like, it's a joke, you know. It's like one of those things when you watch a cartoon, it's just like, let's play this up as like something that it's not. So
Right.
it'll make sense later on.
It really helps Barry's case that those two beekeepers were evil.
I was laughing so much because that's actually really hilarious how they act. Like
The bees make the honey, but we make the money.
Yeah.
Like, and then
it's
even,
like, oh yeah, sweet. Look at this smoker. We're gonna use this. Yeah.
first of all, the fact that they're coincidentally one day doing that bit where it's like in every movie, there's always the two henchmen or the two villains who are
They're
like,
just conversing with each other about what they're doing.
How evil their plan is.
Oh yeah, man, I'm ready to smoke some bees. Are you ready, Harry?
Yeah.
I almost said Barry.
Barry, and it's weird because even Barry repeats the line: "The bees make the honey, but they make the money." What? And then he sees, and then there's a horrible drag queen.
Oh yeah, he says like,
that's a drag queen.
Wait a minute, that's not a queen, that's a man. It's a drag queen.
Yeah, he's in drag. It's a drag queen. It's like, oh god. Yeah. And there was another joke, a gag later where he finally wins the case, and they just freaking shoot Winnie the Pooh and knock him out.
That's right. Yeah, and they don't even hide the fact.
First of all, it was a really badly modeled. I mean, like
they just made it like stretched out.
They stretched him out, and it felt like his eyes were floating in front of his head, like a Donkey Kong Country model.
Right.
But it was DreamWorks loves to take shots at Disney.
Lasseter's in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is he?
Yeah, he is.
Where?
They made a caricature of him near the end, where they're all flying the plane, and they're going toward the flower that's on the plane's tail.
Oh, is he the guy with the thing that looks like the...
He has the Hawaiian shirt, and that's...
Is it? I never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Dude, what's weird, I noticed, it was the weirdest thing, because they had it in the trailer, and then it was in the movie where there's a scene in the courtroom where they pull the bear in. It's the bear from Over the Hedge.
Over the Hedge. Did that movie come before this one?
Yeah.
Or was it...
it was before it, yeah.
Okay, but was there another movie between that and...
maybe...
Was it Shrek 2?
2005, so this was 2007.
Yeah. So was it Shrek 2?
No, Shrek 2 was earlier.
Oh.
I don't know what movie it was, but it was... Because they used that... I know, like, even in, like, How to Train Your Dragon, if you look closely in the scene where they're dropping all the animals into the mouth of the big dragon...
Right.
They put models of characters from their previous movies in there. So, like, they drop Gloria the Hippo into the mouth of this fucking thing. And the bear, again.
But a lot of movies do that, though. There's like, references. There's I mean, animated movies, they love to be self-referential.
Right.
And that's fun, picking that stuff out. But, yeah, it was funny seeing that. And even then, it's, like, very characterized and, like, playing it up, and
I was just waiting for that
like,
bear.
Okay, that's enough, and then he just like droops and walks away.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's another movie I'd love to talk about. Is Over the Hedge.
Yeah.
Speaking of Over the Hedge, I'm looking, and Bee Movie too. I just moved into a new apartment, and I have a downstairs bathroom.
Oh God!
And and I know that's going to be the bathroom that guests are going to use when they come over. So what I did was there was a place going out of business nearby, and they were selling. It was like an audio editing visual arts school.
Yeah.
And they had posters for movies on the wall, and they had a poster for Over the Hedge.
Right.
And I bought it for like $20 because it was framed. And I'm gonna look for a B movie poster, and I'm gonna probably look for, like, I don't know if it's The Nut Job or another one of those movies, but I'm just gonna get the poster and hang it in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So when you go and use the bathroom, you have to look at those images of those characters.
Oh, it'd be good to make a poop. So.
Oh, and the thing is, there's a huge mirror in the bathroom, so no matter where you look, you're going to be seeing those characters looking straight at you.
Yeah.
William Shatner Possum and Jerry Seinfeld Bee and Will Arnett Squirrel.
Yeah. Well, we're going off tangent. We'll probably talk about that at some point. So
at a later date.
Yeah, at a later date.
But for now, Bee Movie.
Yeah. Looking through my notes here, I just want to talk about. Do you know who is that? Do you know who voices that random bee that's in the background when Barry is at his parents' house? And it's like, I once dated a grasshopper once. Oh man, those legs, hot chihuahua. It's like, I remember when I saw.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, who is that? And he sounds like Bob Hope, almost.
I don't think it's Bob Hope.
No, it's not Bob Hope.
It's definitely not Bob Hope.
No, but he shows up again once, and that's it.
Was he like an uncle or a neighbor?
I have no idea.
I actually don't know.
They don't even mention him. They don't even say, like, Oh, Grandpa, you always say that, or something like that.
It's like, where the fuck did you come from?
It was really weird, and I feel like that was probably one of Seinfeld's friends or something. And so like, hey, we'll come in, you can say a line, and you'll be animated on the screen.
We'll throw you a check.
Yeah. And I remember when I first saw that in the movie theater, I even thought to myself, like, wait, who was that?
Where did he come from?
Yeah, where did he come from? But I laughed at that line because the way he delivered it was hilarious. Hachiwa.
It's weird now that we're finding really good things about this movie.
You know, and that's
funny. It's
look,
funny.
That's the one I want. That's the thing I want to talk to you about. Is that I don't really find this a horrible movie.
It's one of those movies where it's enjoyable in its own way.
Yeah.
But you're still surprised that this movie got made in the first place.
But everything about it just seems like it's episodic. It could be like a TV show, you know, because it's
5 different movies in one.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. Once they milk one idea, they move on to a new plot line.
And near the end, it's rushed. You know, it's like in the beginning, it's like it's very slow paced. It's like it's building the world. You know, it's showing you what the life of the bees is, and then later on when it becomes like a political drama and then the environmental thing, it's just like, oh, we got to resolve all these problems like really fast and save the day. That's about it.
The climax literally happened, like the climactic part of the movie, from when they take off in the airplane to when they safely
that's all in 5 minutes.
It's like 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then there's that weird Think Bee moment, and then they play that really weird poppy cover of "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles.
Yeah, that entire sequence just seems like it was just hammy animated movie sort of endings, and it didn't really. It just didn't feel like it fit the rest of the film. Well, I mean, like any of these segments don't feel like they fit together.
One of my favorite moments in the movie, which is completely weird, is just his dream sequence where she just crashes a freaking plane into a cliff.
I busted my ass. I mean, like I was just like laughing my ass off in the theater when that happened.
But it was like wishful thinking, because then it was a dream, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. And by the way, the scene before that, it's directly out of The Graduate. When he's on the pool, the honey pool, when he's just like in his sunglasses, like with no shirt on and just kind of like hanging back, that's like directly shot for shot from the Graduate. And it's kind of fitting. I mean, like, before that, he just met the Renee Zellweger character, and he's falling in love with a character that he's not permitted to fall in love with, and, I don't know, maybe he gave up on life or something. And he falls into the pool and...
Semi-drowns in honey.
Oh, yeah, he almost drowned, yeah. And, but it's such a weird sequence of events that happens.
I forget what's the song that they play during that montage? Before she explodes in a fiery explosion.
Daydreaming tales in the sand.
I'm in love with an ostrich. Jesus Christ.
There's also one thing that really bothered me is the pollen gun, the nectar sucking gun.
Oh yeah, that really.
It's like I feel like they wanted to really be like factual about bees, but at the same time they're all male. And I mean, and
the worker bees
are all male, and there's, you know, female bees in actuality are the ones that do all the work, and the male bees help the queen.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can't show in an animated movie that they're regurgitating.
No.
pollen.
Yeah, and you don't see the queen in this entire thing. You would think that there would be some sort of scene with the queen, like, addressing everything or telling... Maybe there was like a cut scene
there
where...
probably was a queen, and then I think they probably got rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, how could you have a movie about bees and not have the queen in it?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is now when you think about it.
Well, it's like all the ants movies and bug movies, they all had, like, some sort of queen character, and she was just, like, kind of there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really wasn't the... But yeah, it wasn't really that bee factual, you know? It's like it didn't...
Bee factual.
I mean, I feel like it was trying to be... It was almost like there were moments where it was trying to be educational about bees.
And then...
But then that was like all thrown out the window because, hey, we got a joke. Okay, I have to ask you, as a New Yorker... how do you feel about this movie and
how it captures New York?
How it captured New York?
It doesn't. It doesn't feel like, first of all, there's a specific grit to New York, and that's supposed to be Central Park. That's not Central Park. Just like when
It's not that flowery.
If you go to Madagascar, if you watch Madagascar and you see the zoo and the skyline and everything, they captured maybe Times Square in that movie and a subway station.
Yeah.
In the context of the rest of the movie, it doesn't feel like New York. It feels like any city USA.
Well, I would think that it would also be said for Hollywood. I mean, it's a Hollywoodization, and it's a glorified version of
I can also understand that the software.
They talk about Pasadena as well.
Yeah, they go to they want to go to the
they go to LAX.
The
They go to the LAX airport, and I've noticed. I had to pause to look at that layout because I know about LAX, and there's that weird dome looking thing where where the restaurant used to be, and it looked very rushed.
Yeah,
there was like this blank.
Well,
yeah, they had this blank space in between that, and I mean it only shows up for a while, so it's like I understand that, but it almost feels like, along with how rushed that ending is, I feel like they also rushed everything about the animation in it. So
yeah,
I think it's very fitting. But yeah. And what the hell is a krelman? I mean, is that a word? I've been trying to even when I saw this in theaters.
It could be an in-joke with Jerry Seinfeld.
I guess so. Like that little the little bit of honey that's on the edge of a teacup. I mean,
the little honey when you pour it out of the cup.
I guess
because there's always a little drop of honey.
Is there?
Because it collects at the end, and you can't really get. I don't know.
I don't. That's.
I don't. I'm not. I don't.
They
I don't eat
played
honey
this
all the
joke
time.
quite a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And they called it a krelman.
Krelman.
What does that mean? Is that
maybe it's like a weird MacGuffin title where it just is like we just throw it in like.
Yeah. It boggles my mind that the entire joke, why they kept that in, and it said okay, here, let's make a joke about the honey that goes onto the edge of a teacup when you pour it in, and how are we gonna make this funny? Are the bees gonna wear a finger helmet and because
first of all,
they flick it off one cup and then they put it on another. That's really what that entire thing is.
And first of all, they're so technologically advanced.
Yeah.
Why would they need to have people put on giant Dr. Seuss finger hats and strap themselves into a machine and stay there for hours a day?
Yeah.
And they could just have a machine do it. It was a weird...
Yeah, and there's a science where there were scenes where they were testing out these helmets and stuff and the parachute, and those weren't really that funny.
Yeah,
those scenes weren't. I mean, they could have been funny, but they were hitting a bee with giant objects, and it just felt very flat compared to everything. This was more of a verbal humor sort of movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it didn't resonate with kids that much because I got to pay attention to a joke. Oh, forget that.
And now I want to get to the Cars moment of where the things that don't make sense in this movie.
Yeah.
So Barry has never left the hive, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does he know about all the things that humans have?
Color blue.
Yeah. He doesn't know what a piece of rum cake or crumb cake was, but he knows what Italian Vogue is.
They were playing
and he was like, I got hit with an Italian Vogue.
Yeah, he hasn't been out that much.
He's never left the hive. How do they know anything that goes on outside the hive?
Yeah, it was like they were trying to do... Seinfeld was that character where it was like, oh, I'm kind of like the outsider of this entire group, and he's kind of tongue-in-cheek, it's like, he's an actor playing as a bee, and he knows about all this stuff. We just need to make observational humor, which is what Seinfeld's his comedic act is. Yeah. It's observational humor.
And how old are those fucking bees? Because the thing is, they graduated, they went to school for how many days?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I should have looked this up. I don't know.
I don't know the lifespan of bees.
Well, I know the lifespan of a fly is 3 to 5 days, but for a bee, I don't. Yeah. I have no idea.
And it's another weird thing I noticed in that movie.
Yeah.
In the first thing in the movie is that they have this Jim Cummings narrator saying, technically, the wings of a bee wouldn't be able to lift a bee, the fat body of this bee off the ground, but it does it anyway because we believe
because bees don't care about what we think.
Yeah, bees don't care what. And then they kind of semi bring it up at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't feel like everything ties together.
Why do they keep talking about that? I'm getting so sick of that thing.
The bee from that trial. It's like, wow, it must have been it was a really, really big trial.
Yeah. Well, by the end of this, I think so how should we end this? How should we say, okay, give your final thoughts. What did you think of this movie in like a couple sentences? So
I said it before, but I'm gonna compare it to a movie like Rover Dangerfield. And first of all, I cannot not compare any movie to Rover Dangerfield. But
it's kind of like how I can't go a day without having Osmosis Jones referenced to me. So.
But it's weird because like even Osmosis Jones is in the same kind of realm, but not as much as Rover Dangerfield.
Right.
For me,
Rover Dangerfield is a celebrity.
It's a celebrity. It's very much like Bee Movie, where celebrity's like, what about me as a bee or me as a dog?
Yeah.
And my name is Rover.
Yeah.
Instead of Roger.
And let's build something around that concept.
Yeah. So and then they build it around it, and it's entertaining in a very ironic sense. Like as a whole, to accept a movie like Bee Movie, which is such a weird concept, it's weirdly executed, but it's
running off of one note,
right?
Basically,
but it's not a great movie. It's not. I mean, it's barely a good movie.
As a story, it falls apart.
Yeah, but because it's that, and because of what it is, you have to admire it on a very novelty-based sense, where it's just like, I enjoyed this movie for how, lack of a better word, dumb it was. Like it just is, it boggles my mind. Like it's one of those movies where I want to know what it took to get that movie made.
Yeah.
Like obviously there was a lot of money involved.
It took Steven Spielberg.
It took Spielberg. It took Jerry Seinfeld.
And it's funny. It's like he was in the teaser.
Yeah, it was a live action teaser.
Yeah, it's like if anyone remembers this or can find it, it's probably
YouTube.
on YouTube. Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock and everyone, they're all dressed up as like bugs, and then they realize it's like, we can't really do this. Spielberg, help me out. And here it's like, why don't you make it a cartoon? And then it says Bee Movie, and like that was actually a pretty funny teaser.
Yeah, it's a funny. It's definitely. I wish the movie was more like that damn teaser.
Yeah, it kind of.
Well, it's because it's a live action movie.
Well,
it's a live action movie.
You would rather see a movie where Jerry Seinfeld is dressed up as a bee walking around like
pretending I'm a bee. Yeah, I would rather see
like
that.
They're the Teletubbies or something.
Because the thing is, like, I don't think Jerry Seinfeld's brand of humor translates to animation so well, because animation is things happening. It's a very visual medium.
Yeah.
While Seinfeld was never a visual thing, his show was about four characters doing nothing.
Yeah, it's very verbal.
It's very verbal. So to see them do his humor, but in a movie where there's also crazy chases, crazy scenes where he's getting flung into a car and through an engine.
There's quite a few action scenes.
There's a lot of action scenes in this movie, but it doesn't really reflect well on Jerry Seinfeld's very specific stand-up humor.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to bring a ton of concepts of animation, what makes it great, and then bring it into this medium where you have to really rely on your verbal skills and just how quick-witted everything is.
And it's aiming at the opposite ends of the spectrum.
And and a lot of movies it works, but for this one it just kind of like it falls apart. There okay, I will say that it has a lot of moments that are genuinely funny, but there's not a really good balance for it.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that it goes everywhere.
Right.
So in the end, it's all right. It's not terrible. I mean, I still can't stand looking at it because it's
visually not there.
Yeah. So
in that sense.
So
not to diminish the hard work that the people who actually the crew put on it, because they obviously put a lot of hard work into this movie.
Yeah, but it's like honestly, it's like for me, I enjoy Shrek, I don't like looking at it though.
Yeah.
But I do genuinely enjoy the story and how it was written, and it was a really good story from beginning to end, and the jokes were funny.
And the pacing was good.
Yeah, it's just like I wish it had more style to it. So really, I mean, even if this movie had more stylistic appeal to it, it wouldn't really work with that kind of story. So,
is that?
Yeah, that's my cat snoring.
Should I wake him up?
I tried to wake him up a couple times. Okay, cut all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our. Would you say? I don't know if we should even have a grading system. I think what we said, like,
yeah, and I mean, like,
I've heard so many podcasts that have grading systems, but really, like, we can't put a number on this. Let's give it a B minus.
First of all, it's a movie, and the last thing I wanted to say about that about the movie is that it aims usually, like, if a classic Disney movie aims equally in all directions. Mm-hmm. This movie aims at the opposite side of the spectrum of enjoyable for kids and enjoyable for adults. It aims, like, it almost skims it. It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't. There's jokes that barely appeal to kids, jokes that barely appeal to adults, but it's kind of falls flat everywhere in the middle. Even unless it's an extremely, like, only an adult would know this or only a little kid would enjoy this. Yeah. It doesn't. There's a middle area that it's just like it throws and it just misses. It doesn't stick.
Yeah.
Right. But okay, here let's. I want to ask you, what is your favorite thing or joke or moment in the movie, and your least favorite?
Oh, okay. So my favorite joke. Okay, that's a tough one because it's a toss up between the explosion of Renee Zellweger, like, in that hovercraft, just like exploding onto the mountain, and I just bust up laughing. But I really, honestly, my favorite scene, and I've said this before, is when the beekeepers are maniacally laughing about their plans to take over the honey industry, which is like, it's one of those Simpsons moments where it's like, you know, the characters are looking in on what is really a very, you know, just it's a regular job, you know. It's just like, these are just farmers trying to make a living, and here they're making them look like villains, and I think it's hilarious. And my least favorite joke is that Pomp and Circumstance. It's the first one, and it's like
right at, like, the first minute out of that movie.
Right out of the gate. It's like I hear that joke, and I'm just like, that couldn't have even been funny in your mind. It's even as a pun. It's not even a pun. It's just like, how can I make a joke out of Pomp and Circumstance? Well, let's just say Pomp and Circumstance and call it a day. It's so stupid. I know. All right. And how about you? What is your favorite and least favorite joke?
Well, I mean, I love the weird Larry King moment.
Yeah.
And anything with John Goodman. I mean, the John Goodman, shoot your little bed bug.
We didn't talk about that.
That's like the biggest freaking the bull in the
your little bed bug.
Sexual implication joke. Now,
that just raises questions about the entire romance of
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions. I think that's probably my least favorite thing about the movie is not a specific joke.
It's one of those things where it's like, the audience isn't going to really think about this.
Right.
Who cares? It's a cartoon.
Yeah, but for me, like, there's moments where I'm just like, oh, that doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
It's like Cars.
Yeah,
but it's like Cars. It's like, you know, it's just a cartoon, but then it's like it keeps clicking in your head, like, why the hell is this happening? Right. How does this work? Why does that work?
Like, I thought, like, it's a funny visual joke. There's a scene where before the Patrick Warburton character and the bee, get into a fight, and there's these surfing and these pool water and all that stuff. and he sprays aerosol and all that stuff. Yeah. But right before it, he goes into the bathroom to do his business, I guess. And before he goes into the bathroom, he looks at a newspaper and just tears off the smallest corner of it and goes in the bathroom for reading material into the bathroom.
Yeah.
He ripped the corner of a newspaper where there isn't even one
Yeah, it's like,
letter on
oh,
it.
that's interesting. And they just ripped
Yeah,
off
and he
the
rips
corner.
the corner.
Yeah.
Like, it's a funny visual joke, but
It is.
when you see that the paper is just empty,
Yeah.
and like
It just went in there with
just
an
went in there
empty
with an
piece of paper.
Unless it's like, I need a small enough piece of paper to wipe with. I don't know, like, what is I don't know.
In itself, it's pretty funny, and out of context, it's
Yeah,
like,
and then,
even
like,
funnier.
I thought it was funny that they used there's a scene in the movie where Matthew Broderick's character stings
John Goodman.
John Goodman's very ripply jello-like
Oh,
ass.
yeah.
And then he's in the hospital in a really weird scene where they go into a hospital and he's in the hospital in a bed and
a napkin.
two things. One, he has a napkin as a blanket. He has which I thought was funny. They had one of those little swords that they stick.
Yeah.
And
They got a sandwich from the
court.
first floor. Look, it's still got a piece of lettuce on it.
Yeah.
He flicks it
Flicks
off.
a piece of celery or whatever. And he's got that's funny. But then he's got he's taking in an IV of honey. Like, what is that going to do to him?
Right.
Honey is bee blood, apparently.
Yeah.
And then another thing,
Honey
too,
is just for everything in this
in that
movie.
scene, there's a bunch of animation mistakes in the movie.
Yeah.
But the one that stands out is that in that scene, they're sitting up together against that pillow. Mm-hmm. And whenever he bends his head back, his antenna goes through the pillow.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And I remember watching it in the theater and being like, did they not see that? Like, the fact that it's a white pillow.
Yeah.
So when you see something black like that thick antenna
Just go
going
through
in and then back out again. Yeah. It's like Jimmy Neutron's hair.
That's probably just something that they didn't catch.
Oops.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, just those moments where you're just like, why, how, who, what? Like, what was that joke? What did it mean?
Yeah.
Lines just falling flat. Like, the fact that it's like, oh, why did we tell you about flying in the house? We paid good money for those stairs. Like, and they don't use the stairs. They just fly down, but the stairs, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's a few funny jokes. It's a bad story. And that's really all there is to it.
It's sad.
That's B movie.
There's so many things you think.
It's a B movie.
It's a B. No, it's not even a B.
It's
movie.
a BB movie.
It's a C grade.
It's a CB movie.
It's a CB movie. As in, don't go see B movie. It's called C, as in C grade. Not quite failing, not quite succeeding.
Right.
Movie. I wish, because this movie is such it's one of those movies that you have to watch it to understand how weird it is, and you can make almost jokes about it as you're watching it. But looking back on it, there's some just moments where you're just like, I want to talk about it, but what can I possibly say that it doesn't do justice to yourself or to the movie?
Like, I have this on Blu-ray, and I don't even, because I wanted to try and see if they had a commentary track, but I don't even think it has one of those.
Well, I think it came out around the time when commentary tracks were finally losing their interest.
But that's B movie. That's our thoughts about that. I think next time when we talk about another movie,
there is a commentary.
Oh, it is?
Jerry and filmmaker commentary.
Oh, really?
On the Blu-ray only.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Look,
I was looking
I love how it says deleted scenes, alternate endings, or lost scenes.
I haven't even seen those.
Lost for what reason?
Yeah.
They lost.
Well, maybe at some point we'll probably talk about those in a mini podcast or something like that. So, those were our thoughts about B movie. And Mike, I hope you enjoyed talking about B movie.
I enjoyed it just as much as I did watching it. No, I'm kidding. I actually had more fun.
Yeah. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. Mike, you're on Twitter?
I am on Twitter. My Twitter name is A Guy Who Draws.
Which I'm funny. It's like, when I see your Twitter account, I was like, how did someone not already pick that?
I know. But I chose that, and I'm like, it's because that's just it with usernames.
Yeah.
You pick it, and you're like, yeah, that seems great. Then even a day later, you're like, that is a stupid fucking name. Just look up my name on Twitter, just Michael Ruaco.
Yeah. And my Twitter account is AWD Twit, TWIT, and you can contact us and let us know what you think about this podcast, and we'll probably make some more. I'll be posting this I'm gonna try to get on iTunes, but
I don't know what it takes to get.
But for the most part, right now we're gonna be on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, yeah.
So that'll be it for now. But if there are different things in the future, if you want to give your thoughts about what you thought about the movie, you could make your comments into the proper things. I'll probably also post this on YouTube as well with some...
Share it on Tumblr.
Yeah, and I'll share it around and give us your thoughts if you want.
It'll be everywhere.
Yeah,
no matter where you turn. You go to Facebook, you go to Twitter, you go to Tumblr.
You can't escape it. You will see our face on a bee.
Somehow it'll be on Pinterest. We don't know how. It'll be there.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
I will try to make an email account specifically for Animated Anarchy. But for the most part, if you want to contact me about this podcast and want to give your thoughts, you can also email me at awd300@gmail.com. And we will hopefully we will continue this series and just talk about more things, and it'll escalate into explosive possibilities. Maybe we'll have a live studio audience at some point.
All we need
I dream big. I'm but yeah,
I'm surprised. Before we go, I'm surprised and yet somewhat proud that we didn't make nearly as many bee puns and jokes.
Oh God,
as we thought we were gonna do.
I think we've heard so many that we just want to just block it out of our minds.
Also, I think they use every one you could possibly do.
Yeah, you can't really.
They covered every honey bee hive pun, lowest common denominator of a word.
Oh, one thing. They talk about data references. TiVo. They talk about
we
TiVo.
got Bevo. It's a horrible disease.
No, we have HIVO.
Oh, HIVO.
It's a disease. A horrible disease. I just love it, the horribleness. Just like just how horrible that sounds and how he said it.
HIVO.
Yeah, a horrible disease.
We have a horrible disease. It's called herpes.
Yeah. Oh no. All right. And
it stings.
Stop. We're done.
We're done. I can't.
Right.
I'm sad already.
All right. So this has been Animated Anarchy. I'm Andrew Dickman.
And I'm Mike Ruaco.
And we will see you next time. It always goes down with you and birds, doesn't it?
A goose.
A goose.
Oh, I've been watching King of the Hill.
Of course.
And the funny thing was, there was one where I think he's working as a tank wipe.
A tank wipe?
Like a guy who cleans the tanks.
Oh, right.
And it's like Bobby's leaving. Bobby's working for Hank.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm going to go to bed. My arms hurt so much. And as he leaves the room, Hank whispers to Peggy. He goes, he's so tired. I don't even know if he can make it. I don't even think he can make it to his bedroom. Then you hear in the distance, whomp, and he goes, aw, he can't.
Oh, he died.
Oh, it's like the timing of, like, I can't kill them, but I could kill you. No. I can't.
Look at I can't.
This bunch of Rory Kelvins.